What's up, y'all? It's Zach.
And it's Ade.
Welcome to Living Corporate. Okay. You know what? This is coming on an off day, right? But you know what? We've had a few off days. So, bars, right? I know. Typically we drop content on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. But, with y'all working from home and us being content creators, that's part of our job. We're storytellers, we're story curators, and we're also content creators. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Triple entendre, don't even ask me how. And so I'm really excited because this is our 200th episode, but beyond just celebrating arbitrary milestones, really just want to make sure that we check in with y'all, Living Corporate community, make sure everybody's good. Ade, how you been doing?
Honestly, just trying to look at the bright side of things. I'm incredibly grateful that so far so good. I'm quarantining with people that I love. I am unfortunately still being made to work out, even though my gym is closed for the next 2 or so weeks. I have a roof over my head, food to eat, all of these things. And all of those things are certainties. I'm not worried about those things. And so I'm deeply grateful for that opportunity. I'm also going a little stir crazy. I'm definitely an introvert, but I also I like being able to walk outside and cuddle people's dogs. Not necessarily talk to people, but
right.
Hang out with stranger dogs. But I can't do that right now, so it's a little weird. My family's good, so so far so good. Grateful for the time and space I'm in that has allowed me the opportunity to be this calm, because I otherwise would not have the opportunity to do so. So, yeah. How are things on your end, even Candace?
Well, thank you for asking. So, Candace and I are great. More importantly, Candace is great. We've talked about the fact that expecting our first child any day now, and really thankful for that. So, one, just appreciative for health and strength, of course. And then thankful for family, right? All of our family members are safe. We're all bunkered down in our respective homes.
Right.
And, my parents are good. My siblings are great. And to your point, thankful to have a job. Thankful to have a roof over my head. Thankful to have food, right? We're well supplied. It's well stocked. And it's been good. It's been good. I'm shout out to everyone who's listening. Shout out to the people who are, working from home, maybe not used to working from home. Shout out to folks who are at home and wish they were working. Shout out to all of our healthcare professionals. Shout out to the healthcare professionals we've had actually on our platform. So shout out to Dr. Blackstock, Dr. Williams. Shout out to everybody who's out there really just working. We really appreciate your effort and your service. This is a weird time.
And shout out to the grocery store workers,
shout out to them.
Bus drivers, the Uber drivers, folks who are out there right now with a lot less safety and certainty than what we're expressing our gratitude for. I'm pulling for everyone, praying for everyone, and hoping that this will enact a change in the way that we approach class and care, and just overall how we approach taking care of one another. I kind of want to put a pin in that conversation about community and come back to it. But yeah, pray for everyone.
No doubt. And I agree. I think it's interesting when we talk about some of the things that are happening where employers are changing some of their policies and allowing people to have sick days and those it just reminds me again that our the way that we function as a country, we're just not as sophisticated as we act like we are, and there's a lot more that I believe our that companies should be doing for its employees, right? This episode is a super bonus episode. This is episode 200. We have 2 different conversations we're going to be bringing to y'all today. One that Sheneisha is going to be facilitating with an interview, and then another one from Latesha. What's up, Sheneisha, Latesha, Toya, Brenda? Not all those. No, I love the fact that our team is so diverse and we have Black women on our platform. Of course, you included, Ade. But yeah, no, it's a lot of content this episode, all focused on working from home, working through coronavirus, COVID-19, making sure that you're keeping yourself engaged, occupied, that you're managing yourself well, that you're not getting, too high or too low, that you're able to stay fairly level. That's really the goal of the content that you're going to be hearing today. I'm curious, Ade, what you've been doing to just manage yourself, right? Now you and I, we're consultants, so we're used to, taking days and working from home, but I also know that you're a little bit more socially active than I am. And I'm cool. I'm cool. I'll stay at the crib and be fine. But everybody's not like that. I think for me, I pushed, at first I was projecting, right? I was like, well, this isn't that bad. Just work from home. It's cool. You could just spend time with your loved one and binge watch your TV shows and get a bunch of work done. But everyone isn't energized the same way. I'm curious about how this has impacted you.
Without putting out too much of my business, I think that it's been an interesting time. I'm quarantined with my best friend, so I'm quarantining away from my immediate family. My mom's immunocompromised, so it's not something that I want to play with. And being quarantined with my best friend, we're having a lot of conversations that I could have avoided if I were at happy hour.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing all the things to remain healthy. So we're working out. We're having meaningful conversations, and I think that for me, it's very much having to put things on pause and pay attention to the things that I don't necessarily have to on a regular basis is interesting. And it's a double-edged sword in the sense that I get to really think through what are the decisions I've been making lately? How does that impact my long-term goals? How are those things gonna all tie together to get me to the best version of myself? Because that's ultimately what I'm in pursuit of, is building the best version of myself. But also at the same time, having somebody who knows you like the back of their hand hold up a mirror in your face, all right, sis, you've been doing a lot. What is up?
Right.
It's certainly a sobering moment, in the sense that, you get to take a step back, and again, gratitude, because I have the opportunity to just think through. We actually did this exercise, which I thought was really cool. He gave me an Excel spreadsheet, and it was right through all of the biggest moments that brought you here, right? The most significant moments of your life, when it was chronologically, we're going to talk through it, and say whether it was positive or negative. And through that experience, I realized that even experiences that I have not the greatest memories of, I could also always find a positive in all of those things. And I think for me, it's this really good time to examine those things. And that's not necessarily to say that things are allowed to suck. You're allowed to say, all right, this sucks, and that there isn't a positive in this. There's some experiences that were just entirely negative, and there's some experiences that were entirely positive. So I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I am saying, though, that in this moment, I am able to experience the discomfort in that growth and expand my horizons a little bit. I feel I just sounded like one of those optimistic planners.
Yeah.
And that wasn't my intention. It's just what I'm really experiencing. I'm also sweating really hard because I just finished working out my final set of the day. So
what is your set consist of?
Oh God, Kendall's torturing me. So we did push-ups, alternating shoulder taps, alternating hip taps, toe taps, and then these things called man makers. And so basically, I'm worn out.
That's what's up. Yeah. I do think it's important to one, it's a blessing that you're with somebody, that you're not like wholly alone, even though, again, people get their energy from different places. I know for me, like, I'm glad that I'm with my wife and we can have like a really good time. We can just talk and joke and, just chill, like be in each other's presence. And though that you're with somebody that you like, because there are some folks paired up.
Oh my God.
They don't want to be paired up. You know what I'm saying?
So it's been interesting to me. I think I tweeted about this just because I was uncomfortable. I saw a tweet that said something along the lines of, like, I'm quarantining with my significant other, and in as much as I love her, like, we're not going to make it through this weekend. We're going to kill each other or something like that. It made me so uncomfortable because, like, and this isn't a relationship podcast. I'm not going to harp too much on it, but, like, why are you married to someone if you can't spend a weekend alone with them?
Well, I think it highlights, and people have been talking about this on social media a lot, like how little time a lot of these couples spend with each other. And then, like, you think about, it's a dynamic, right? So it's like people who have been together and, like, they haven't spent time together in, like, mad years.
Right.
And then there's people who, like, are just now trying to live together. And maybe, maybe they, they're just like, we're kind of trying to give it a shot, and, like, dang, now they stuck like that. I empathize with it. And then, of course, like, not to be like too much of a downer, it's like there are also situations of people who are stuck in like abusive situations and they can't leave.
Yep, I was literally just thinking that.
Right, and so that's a problem.
Yeah. So again, it's really difficult to describe the gamut of emotions, but just kind of watching the way people have been interacting with one another. I think this brings it back to community, right? The original conversation that I wanted to have, which America has an incredibly individualistic mindset, and that's a good thing if you are, one person and you're striving. But maybe it's just, I'm African, like, your community is who you are. And in as much of, and I know you don't believe me, and I know many people don't believe me, but I really am an introvert. But I still value community, and it's so important to me that, I think this is why, like, this virus is so serious. It's that it erodes community, and you have to figure out how best to keep up those things. So, like, for example, thinking through not just how the virus is going to affect you, but affect those around you, right? Like, so in this building, there are several folks who are older or immunocompromised, and making it a point, in as much as it's possible, to take the stairs and not the elevator. Not necessarily because I feel like I'm going to be, like, too affected, but because, if I am asymptomatic and carrying something, I don't want to transmit it through, like, touching elevator buttons.
Right.
Or making sure that folks in your neighborhood are able to go grocery shopping. I was at Hair Cedar a couple of days ago, and there were literally an elderly couple who were literally sitting at the door, and it's a madhouse in the grocery store. And I stopped and I was like, "Hey, do you have groceries? Do you need anything? I can run back in for you." And they're like, "Oh, somebody else has already, like, gone in for us, but thank you."
Wow.
But being able to keep track of your neighbors in that way, I think this virus is really going to test the bonds of community and how we respond to caring for the most vulnerable amongst us, especially when it doesn't look like, community service, when it looks more like
just
sitting
life.
in home,
or
opting for a few hours of solitude as opposed to, going out and being mixy for the sake of being mixy.
No, I'm right there with you. I think, and you're right in that, like, well, first of all, hold on, backing up. What did you say? You said you don't think I believe, I don't believe you. I do believe you.
Yeah, but then you talk about how much I'm outside, and
Well, no, but that's
how
part of
crazy I get on the internet.
Okay,
It's
so
kind of like,
wait a second.
everybody needs their outlet.
So first of all, in my mind, you going outside is part of you being communal. Like you have people that you that you link with, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't bring up your internet antics on this episode. That was off mic. That's pre-production. But I mean, yeah, that's true. But you have a good time. To me, that you just having a good time. So I do believe you're about community. I think community is.
I kind of want Aaron to meet that part out.
Nah. I think it's really important. I think you're 100% right. I think my frustration though is that like I want to talk a little bit about systems. Like I think like we're in this late stage capitalistic society that that really discourages community because we're so busy being poor that like we're so busy. I hate
that you said it that way, but it's accurate.
We're so busy being poor. Like, and I've tried to explain this to people who have, jobs that pay them a little bit of cash. It's like, look, man, we're all like we're definitely like most of us, if we missed 2 months of checks, we would be in trouble.
Done for.
So I saw there's this, and I'm not going to drop her name because that's not what we do. But I saw this tweet and they were like, anyone who is going to be in financial dire straits after 2 months without pay needs help in financial literacy. And I was like, do they?
That raggedy. Okay. I'm sorry. It
was raggedy. No, it was a raggedy post. And I was like, first of all, how it's really graceless. Like we have to be gentler with each other, but we have to stop blaming victims and like people who are outputs of a system for being victimized. It's like, like most people, even people who can afford it, like if you talk to, let me tell you something, if I talk to some of my mentors and they make money and I was like, hey yo, you're not gonna get paid for the next 8 weeks, they're gonna be like, wait, that's a problem. Like that's a problem for most people, right? Like not just the impoverished. Like, and I think what I'm hopeful for, like as we kind of see again, companies changing their policies, allowing people to work from home. I do think that this whole idea of like everybody working from home and it's easy, I think that's a little overblown. There are a lot of things that you need to do in person, but there's a lot of work that you do not need to be at an office for. Like way more work than we're comfortable admitting we can easily do from home. And like, I hope that some of these things that like COVID-19 is forcing us to change and do, I really hope those things stay.
So there are multiple things that you said that I think I want to respond to. First being like, I'd call that woman a raggedy, to her face. Primarily because it's dishonest to say that it's financial literacy affecting folks who cannot survive a 2-month hit
2 months
to their wallets.
2 months.
You're a liar. You're a liar. And that's because the math simply doesn't add up. Let's take race out of the equation. Let's take the average pay. The median income for all of America. Do the math. Distribute over 12 months and then take 2 of those months out and then weigh that against the bills that they're going to be paying. Folks are going to have to sell homes. Folks are going to have to, and that's not if like someone in the home actually gets sick. Or kids are also out of school for 2 months. So you got to find like some way to take care of them or caregive while they're at home. That's not to mention whether or not, if you're lucky, you own property. Well, rent isn't coming in. So now you're still going to have to pay your mortgage as well as mortgage on whatever it is. So whatever property it is that you own, if you're being super generous and you're middle class or whatever the heck. So it's entirely dishonest to say that it's financial literacy, not plain old, not freaking having it. You cannot squeeze blood from a stone.
Right.
So that really, really upset me. And then there are folks that we're not even thinking about right now. So like I was having a conversation with a friend and he was telling me about how, there's an entire community of caregivers who aren't doctors who are going to be interacting with your grandparents and great-grandparents in their nursing homes or who are caring for differently abled communities and are making $8.75 an hour. and are still going to have to balance all of these different patients and all of these different communities over the course of this pandemic. Lots of people are going to die if we do not have a sincere conversation about what is happening right now and what we need to do in order to mitigate these things. Like, I've been reading about rent freezes. I've been reading about, putting $1,000 a month in people's pockets. Shout out to Andrew Yang. Like, it feels incredibly dishonest to not examine the system as a whole and say, okay, what is happening? Why is it happening this way? And what are the ways in which we can mitigate this? One really interesting example that I saw was that in DC, there was a whole restaurant group. They had, I want to say, 4 to 5 restaurants under the same umbrella that refused to close despite DC's mayor kind of issuing, I want to say a command, but whatever, a command to make sure that all of DC's restaurants close for patrons. And it's like, the owner himself is saying, okay, well, I'm going to go bankrupt. I understand that. That's literally the conversation we were just having about taking 2 months of pay out of people's pockets. At the same time, if you have 5 restaurants and, you're going to take a hit from all of this, there are many, many different ways in which you can mitigate your risks that are much more available to you than they are to, say, the folks who are washing dishes in your restaurant or the people who are bussing tables or the wait staff in general. So, like, it just seemed very irresponsible and selfish. I think irresponsibility and selfishness / greed are how we got here.
No,
I mean,
you're 100% right. And I think, and this is also not like a politics podcast or even like but it is. But you know what it is though? Like, this platform is about amplifying and centering marginalized experiences at work, and like this all relates back to work. So I don't think this is not out of our wheelhouse. It's just interesting how just life, and I think this like really just exemplifies why we do this, because just the way the world is set up, like, if you are a marginalized person in this country, you have to work somewhere. And so this impacts you. Right. But, it's interesting because when you look at, like, the airline industry and, like, the commentary is that, they need, I think they asked for, like, 50 billion. And so they're talking about they need, like, another 50 billion.
Which is wild.
Which is wild when you think about the past, like, 10 years, they've received more than that. And bailouts, but use the money for stock buybacks. So they should be flush with cash, but they managed the finances improperly, and now they need more money. And it's like to your point around greed, it's just so scary because, like, even now there's there's news coming out that the current occupier of the White House is going to be essentially like asking, like, trying to get the same thing. I'm like, yo, why are we bailing them out again without any additional regulations or like to protect these employees? And I think, like, when it's what's frustrating for me as I, like, look at the news and I sit in a position of privilege that I'm even able to, like, sit on my couch, look at my computer, look on social media and keep up with the news. Like, I have enough privilege that I'm not scared about how I'm going to eat or if I'm going to get paid in another, like, 13 days. Like, I'm confident that I'm going to get paid. I'm confident. Like, I see a plan in front of me. Right. But what's scary is, like, there's a lot of effort that's being done to, like, maintain, like, that, like, middle class and up. But, like, the bottom of our pyramid of this capitalistic pyramid is crumbling. Like, there are people who are really hurting. And, like, I think about that. I think about, like, all of the different gig workers. I think about family members who are in the service industry doing, like, really good work and got laid off, right? And, like, literally the whole company's like, yeah, we're up in smoke. Like, we don't know what we're going to do. Like, we're going to have to wait to figure everything else out. And, like, they're just stuck. Like, think about getting laid off in California. Like, you're in California. Your rent is like $1,200, $1,300, and you split it with, like, 3 other people. And you don't have a job. Like, that's scary. That's a terrifying position to be in. So, not to be a downer, y'all. Like, the point is, like, we're here with y'all. We empathize. We're really excited about the rest of the content. It's a long episode, so some of y'all like long episodes because I've gotten feedback about that. So buckle up. Let's talk a little bit about favorite things, like just to kind of to end it on a higher note. Ade, Ade, what are your favorite things right now, like that you're doing as you're working from home, as you're self-quarantined?
Shout out to Netflix. So I'm actually really obsessed currently with this show called Strong on Netflix. And it essentially follows like 10 women who go on this reality TV show. And I'm not really a reality TV show person because I can never keep up with what's happening. But it's a really well done TV show. And each person kind of gets to work on their own like mental strength and grit. And I think I've mentioned more than once how important suddenly grit has become to me.
Yeah.
So that's one of my current favorite things. Another favorite thing that I think I've mentioned on this app before, but that is again becoming even more relevant to me is it's an app called Tide. If you guys don't remember what it is, it's this app that originally what I used it for was just to fall asleep. I was a chronic insomniac, and you know, it would play like storms, like thunderstorms, which I love. But they also added like a nap button and a focus button. So if you find yourself needing to concentrate or meditate or anything like that, really, really cool option available to you. And then last thing, and then I'm gonna call it good. Another thing that I use for meditating is called Tibetan Bowls. It's a playlist on Spotify, and they're just like really, depending on whether or not you like that sort of thing, you might enjoy the playlist. And actually, I like last thing, Jhené Aiko's most recent album called Jalombo.
Oh boy.
I like from beginning to end. I think I start sobbing somewhere around like 10,000 hours. Pray for You is just a bop and a half. Speak is it for me. And I want you to know that I'm literally naming these off the top of my head. Happiness Over Everything is me and my best friend, like the theme song. Love, I think, was just amazing. I've never imagined, myself getting married, but if I ever made that fatal mistake, it would probably, like Lightning and Thunder would probably be on the playlist. So yeah, no, those are my favorite things. I hope you guys enjoy those things. Check them out. Let me know how you feel. All of those things.
That's dope. Yeah, so yeah, definitely shout out to your favorite things. That's a good list. I think about that Jhené Aiko album is great. I'm surprised you didn't say BS was one of your favorite tracks. That song was jammy. This perfect level of toxicity.
So I really like BS. There were points in the song that I didn't like. Like, I just saw your new girl, it boosts my self-esteem. That's like a sticking point in my head for me because like I'm just personally of the mind that like the new girl didn't do anything to you. There was no need to like be shady to her.
You're not gonna be nasty about it.
Yeah, like you could be finer because Jhené Aiko is like objectively a 13 out of 10.
She is. It's true. That's fair.
But like, come on, that wasn't nice. I don't believe in women being terrible to other women because of the men they have in common. I believe in women just being terrible to each other because they're terrible people, and you're allowed to be because you're multifaceted beings.
Right. I think that's like the patriarchy, right? Like you like the fact that you don't have to attack another woman. It's okay. Like
right.
The scarcity mindset. Like there's plenty to go around for everybody. You don't have to be
right. And yeah, no, I do like BS. It's just that one song, that one line. Every time I hear it, it's like cringe and it sours the whole song for me because it's like, if I ever ran into an ex of mine or at least the exes that I don't like, and I met their partner at the time, I wouldn't say, oh, she looks terrible. I would, never mind.
Yeah. It's tough, huh?
But it wouldn't have anything to do with her now.
Got you. Okay. So let me think about it. So yeah, my favorite things. So, My wife and I are really, really in like pre-parenting mode. So we're like, we're nesting, getting the house ready. The nursery is ready. Yeah, real talk. I'm about to be a dad.
I demand photos of the nursery, by the way. I haven't seen anything, and I know you've taken most gorgeous portraits.
Oh, thank
so,
you.
like,
did you not see? You didn't see Candace's maternity pictures?
No.
Oh, that's wild. Okay, well, yeah, I'll send them to you.
The only reason I get on Instagram is to find workout routines and body goals. I don't really, and to post shady things.
Yeah, okay. I was about to say I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to see how honest you might be. Okay, so favorite things. I'm going to tell you honestly, one of my favorite things right now. So living corporate, it's not ready yet. So when it's ready, y'all will see because we'll do a little press run. But we're actually working on some merch for y'all. And yes. And so, what I had to, of course, a good, person who's like a good, like, who's trying to like do the merch and make sure it's quality. You get the sample sent to you first. So you can kind of feel it. You can see what's up. It's a critical part of what you do. And so one of the pieces of merch that we have in design is like a onesie with like a living corporate baby onesie. And so I got that mocked up and it's sent over and it looks really, really good. It's really cute. The fabric looks good. The print is good. The color is good. So I'm excited about that. So that's a favorite thing. Another favorite thing, honestly, I was watching like a Miles Davis documentary on Netflix, which was great. And
you gotta tell me.
Gotta tell you what?
The title?
It's called Miles Davis, Birth of the Cool. This is in 2019 too, so this is like it's been out for a little bit. One, I don't want to talk about Miles Davis without talking about the fact that like he definitely ran through black women like tissue paper in terms of like I'm serious. Like no, like Miles Davis would not exist without the myriad of black women that gave of themselves so sacrificially so that he could not only stay alive, but like also like continue to create all of the like the different genres that he was responsible for. Like we have nothing but black women to thank for Miles Davis and like all of his innumerable contributions to jazz and just like and just the art space in general. So like shout out to black women once again. Thank y'all. But the documentary itself was incredible, and it really like put me back onto jazz. Like I've been really listening to a lot of jazz. So like one of my favorite things right now, like because we're working from home and we're just, we're chilling. HISD is closed until like the 10th of April. And
what's
so
HISD?
My bad, Houston Independent School District. It's closed till April 10th, and like a myriad of other school districts around the nation. They're just everything's just sitting in rice right now. And so my wife and I, like, we sit in the living room, and she's like reading a book, and I'm working, and I'm seeing like, and we're just listening to jazz, like, and it's great. Like, and part of me feels old but it's like I am an old soul for sure. But I'm also like, dang, wait, this is really fire. And like when you think about my other favorite thing is this documentary, because it's just so good. It reminds me about like how black jazz is, and like how much of a statement it was politically, socially, culturally. Like it was a huge statement. They were just making incredible, like super dope music.
That's real.
Yeah. So I love that. And then, I think my last favorite thing that I'm going to shout out, is the Living Corporate, team. Like this has been an incredible run. Like we've been making so much content. Like we have a lot of content, y'all. Like we have more stuff that we're not going to announce right now, but that we're cooking up. Really excited for the summer, whether we're cooped up at home or if we're out and about. This content is going to be really great. It's going to be really powerful. We have some partnerships that are coming pretty soon that I'm excited about, and just really excited to announce and talk a little bit more about. So, but that wouldn't be possible without like the Living Corporate team. So, we've caught some features recently. We were on Forbes, and then we were on Voyage, and then before that we were on Mogul Millennial. And then before that, we were on like Black Texas Magazine. So like we're just growing, and like those things wouldn't happen without everybody. So those are my favorite things.
That's dope. I'm really excited because I don't know. It feels like it took a long time to get here, and in the grand scheme of things, it didn't take that long actually. But it just feels so incredibly good to be here and working on so many different things that are, I think, an important part of ourselves and our development. So yeah, I think that we're finally in a place where we're like really building things that matter to us, things that are important, and having the time of our lives doing so. So yeah, I love it here.
For sure. No, I love it here too. I think, we talked about like, so we're episode 200 and it's like, I remember there was a point like when we got started and it was just like, there were so many different like points of view, kind of like where things could go. And, we had a lot of different cooks in the kitchen, a lot of different like really strong perspectives. And like, I do feel as if like the past like 3 or 4 months, it's been like, ooh, this is like we had fun last year, but like 2020, like despite everything that's going on and like this year being just completely bonkers, I'm really excited about where we're going. Okay. Well, look, y'all, we're some time in. The next things you're going to be hearing are 2 interviews. Okay. So hang tight, like roll with us. We have a conversation with Sheneisha that she's going to be facilitating with Deidre Wright. And then we have some insights on career management, working from home, and kind of like the future of work in the midst of COVID-19. And those are insights from Latesha Bird. Really excited for y'all to check this out, and we'll catch y'all next time. In the meantime, this has been Zach
and Ade.
See y'all soon.
What's up, Living Corporate? It's Sheneisha here, and today we'll be discussing working remote. So, with working remote, right now, according to the CDC, there are over 3,487 cases of COVID-19 in the U.S. Of those cases, 205 are related to travel, 214 are close contact, 3,068 are under investigation. And currently, since we're recording today, this could potentially be capped because there may be more. But this is as of current. Most organizations are suggesting that employees work remote out of an abundance of precautions to prevent the risk of exposure to the virus. With constant notifications of COVID-19, it's hard to focus and keep up the employee morale. So today, we have a guest to share insight about working remotely. Our guest helps professionals get careers and clients they love through personal branding, so opportunities come to you. She's a frequent speaker on podcasts, Being Here Living Corporate, so we're welcoming her back, webinars and conferences, including events with Barack Obama, Colin Powell, America Farah. Our guest has been seen on Essence.com, Savoy Magazine with Oprah on the cover, and created viral LinkedIn posts with over 37,000 views. Currently, she's the owner of Strategic Stories LLC, providing business and personal brand consulting. Let's welcome our guest, Deidre Wright. Deidre, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be back.
Absolutely. How are you?
Overall, I'm blessed, but I'll have to tell you, pandemics don't happen that often, so it's a little interesting these days.
It's very much different. Very much different. So, I've given the intro. Could you share more insight about you? Who is Deidre?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I'm a 2-time award-winning corporate executive. I actually switched between 4 different fields in corporate, including insurance, the media, healthcare, D&I. My last role was a D&I diversity inclusion director at a magazine, in which I actually worked 100% remote for 2 years. And I was laid off in December around the holidays. I wanted to use my experience to empower minority professionals to get their dream careers, clients, and brand visibility. So really, I empower our people to level up in their career in corporate. And I want to be here to share advice on how to level up your remote working career.
That's good. That's great. And I'm so glad we have you here. And speaking about careers, I see that, again, as I mentioned in the intro, you have your business, Strategic Stories. Could you tell us more about your brand consulting?
Yes. I will. And so, as you guys know, as I told you, I was a diversity inclusion director working with different corporations while I was at a magazine. And like my biggest takeaway from that experience is that, corporations do not recognize minority talent. They're always looking for diverse recruitment, but they're not really investing inside, who's actually there in the business making differences, making things happen. And so in order to diversify the C-suite within corporations, I'm coaching entrepreneurs and employees to clarify their dream career and business plans, to brand yourself, to grow your network, value, and visibility, and then pitch your dream opportunities so that you are doing work you love, you're in the media, and you're getting dream clients. So that's really what empowered me to do this job, and also like why I care so much about it.
And I'm so glad that you do, and that you are helping people find a job that they love. Because I know it's so hard to wake up every morning and to go to some place that you just absolutely despise, or that doesn't recognize your culture or recognize you as a part of the team, or a place that you can't really identify with the culture, and you want to expand and build upon your brand. So thank you so much for Strategic Stories and what you do. It's amazing.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So what tips would you like to provide the professionals who have found themselves in this new space of working remote?
That's a great question. A lot of people, they might work remote if they do like maybe once in a blue moon or around the holidays, but it's not a full-time thing. And like I said, I worked 100% remote, meaning all of me and my coworkers all worked at our homes in various cities, various states. And I will say, if nothing else you remember of this interview, of this discussion, is to remember to grow, which stands for goals, routine, outreach, and wellness. If you focus on those 4 things, you'll be successful, happy, and healthy when it comes to that. So set goals, keep and maintain routine, outreach to others, and then really maintain your wellness, whether that's on a mental or physical side of health.
That is good. That is super good, because right now with this wellness and working remote, I think I might have gained probably about 2 or 3 pounds in just 4 days. I don't know.
I will tell you this, Sheneisha, like real talk, after over a year and some change of working remotely, and my friends did not believe this, but I had the receipts, I gained over 40 pounds working remotely. Luckily, I carry my weight well, but it can happen if you don't move. It will pack on the pounds.
See, and they don't tell you this. They don't tell you. No one tells you this. So, to grow, that is an excellent acronym, and I hope our listeners are taking notes. That's an excellent acronym to go by. So, what does productivity look like working remotely with external distractions like COVID-19? How do we manage those external distractions to keep high work performance if we're not in the office, or if we were in the office?
Right, and so I'll say the same tips I give today would happen whether you're in a pandemic, or it's a regular day, or it's a hurricane or earthquake. 'Cause think about this. Although it's a growing crisis, like there's things that happen, at a drop of a hat. A hurricane kind of happens, earthquake. So these are things you can do regardless if it's a good time to work remotely or something happens. But I will say, if nothing else, create goals and set boundaries. Goals help you know what you're doing and what you're working towards, and also it's very vital that you communicate those goals to others so that your manager knows what you're working on, they know the progress, and also you're able to demonstrate that you're getting things done, you're efficient, because I honestly find that I work more efficiently at home versus the office for various reasons. And so I say, if nothing else, have those goals, communicate them, and create updates on them. And the boundaries are very, very crucial too. So once you have those goals, how do you make sure they happen? Well, you have to set your boundaries with people in your home. Like typically when you work remote, there's not really anybody around. But right now, during this crisis, people are around. If you have kids, if you have spouses, roommates, everyone's at home. So eliminate those distractions by communicating, hey, I have meetings from this time to this time. I can't have any distractions. Can you please be quiet? Or here's a key time we're going to play, child, and then I need you to be quiet for mommy and daddy or whatever. And then you have to have boundaries with people you work with. So have routine meetings and check-ins so you know, like, hey, I'm available between this hour or these hours, but in between time, let me get my work done. So I'm gonna only check my emails during these hours. And I would say, do not check your emails every 5 minutes. have scheduled times that you're like, hey, maybe at 10 o'clock in the morning and maybe at 3 o'clock in the afternoon is when I check my emails because I need to stay focused on the task. But have those boundaries. And then share your expectations on follow-up. So if you have an email, how long are you going to respond? Do you have within the 24-hour time frame, 48 hours, but set and communicate those expectations with people. And then lastly, have the boundaries with yourself. I would say have a key work area. Try not to work on your bed. Try to have, and people without big spaces clearly mean like, hey, I don't work on my bed or work on my kitchen table, but I work in this one area. And once I leave that area, I'm no longer working. And then with the news right now in the pandemic, have set times you check the news. Like I said, maybe it's like every couple of hours, but just have those boundaries and keep your goals, and you'll be very productive during any time that you're working remotely.
This is good. Definitely the boundaries and making sure that you're, like you said, not checking those notifications or those emails, and also too with your teammates, setting that time off possibly on your calendar to say this is the time that you're busy and this is the time that you're available, and sharing that with them possibly. Is that a good idea for the day?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would say so. Like I would like to have, like I prefer having set times. Like me and my old manager, we would have every 2 weeks we'll have a meeting just to talk. I work pretty much like by myself, and I'm pretty good at that. If you have bigger teams, maybe you have an hour with every teammate, or maybe it's like 1 hour during the day you check in. Figure out what that is so you have that blocked off time, but also that you give people the freedom to get their work done. Because I don't know about you, with the way I was working, I was the only one working out of California. I'm from the Bay Area. My boss was in Chicago. We were all in different time zones. So your morning and my morning might be different. And I don't necessarily want to get emails, at 5 o'clock in the morning and be expected to respond to them. So I would say just have those check-in times to help you keep your sanity and your teammates across time zones.
That's good. And that's also, too, showing respect for one another and managing that. And then, too, you're still letting them know that, hey, I'm going to get back with you, so we'll check back in at this time. I really like that. That's important. So, with most time...
And then also, I would add with your family, because obviously it's a different time now, but sometimes people are like, oh, well, you're at home, so you can take my phone calls, and we can chit-chat, or do some laundry, or whatever. Like, set those boundaries, like, hey, like, yeah, I'm at home, but I am working, so you have to be clear on that. And I would also say make sure you check out. I actually found that I was working more, and we can talk about it later, more than at an office, because you live at your office. So try to have those times where you're clear about when you're not available, but also leave the computer alone at a set time and do not check for the rest of the day.
Yeah, because you need to be more well-rounded. So that good work-life balance, I think, is super important. And knowing that when you are at that one set place and you're working, that you're being productive, you're knocking things out. At the same time, you're leaving that space for balance when you are done to be able to spend time with your family, because, like you said, they may not understand that you're home. I'm home, but I'm working. Understand that, right. Please. So that's good to definitely know that. I really like that. That's important. So most times when we're working remotely, we're alone. Like you're saying, you were out in California, your teammates were elsewhere working. What are 3 best practices you would suggest in regards to managing our energy and keeping personal morale up during a time like this?
Yes, I think that's a very key thing, because it can be isolating working when you're alone, meaning like you're away from office, you're not having that water cooler talk. And also energy, because you're especially now, I'm in a shelter city. Well, basically, I'm in the Bay Area, and we're told to stay home. So unless it's something essential, you're not supposed to leave your house. So I'm really like on house arrest kind of right now. And so it's hard to, because you feel like you're kind of isolated. But I would say to keep your energy up and keep your morale up, I would say just practice gratitude, maintain your wellness, and connect face-to-face. And gratitude, I always start my day off counting my blessings. And whether you have different kind of spiritual backgrounds, it's not really about that. It's more like, hey, having something to show appreciation from kind of sets you with the right intention for your day, because you're thinking, wow, I'm so lucky I have access to the internet. I'm so lucky I'm able to do a job remotely. I'm so lucky. And you say that because it helps you ground your day and start off on a good foot. And then nextly, I will tell you to take breaks. According to research done by Brendan Burchard, who is a high performance coach and studies this. He learned that if you want to feel more energized, creative, and effective at work, you should take breaks to give your mind and body a break. And that's every 45 to 60 minutes. So every hour, take a break from your brain, for your body. And all you have to really do is just maybe stand up for 2 minutes or stretch it out or maybe walk around your apartment or house. But literally doing that will make you way more productive and successful. So taking that kind of wellness kind of check and break will be great. And I would say typically leave the house, but in my situation, it's not really what's advised right now. So I'll just say have that face-to-face connection. We have so many great technology opportunities now. There is FaceTime, there's Instagram, there's different ways to meet up with your friends and family if you're not locally in you. So I would just say have that face-to-face connection with your boss. Do a Zoom versus, texting or do whatever. But having some kind of face-to-face helps you keep the human side of it. It helps you hopefully feel like happy to see the person, and then it keeps you grounded and keep your energy flowing during this time when we're at home, sometimes against our will.
Not against your will.
I'm just saying.
Shade. No. Yeah. But no, this is good though, to have a moment where you're taking a break and stepping away. Because I know for me at times, I could definitely just be in the zone and say, this task has to be done. And I can look up and it's been hours I've been working on this one thing. And you may feel like you're being productive, but you've read the same paragraph 3 times. Like, you're not being productive. You have to take a second and step away. And then I know for me, it may not be for anyone else. Sometimes I feel guilty. Like, I stepped away for a moment. This time that I could have been doing this, but realistically, would you have been doing that? So I I like this idea of taking a moment, 45 minutes, step away, 2 minutes for yourself or something. I don't know. This could be the time you could be doing a few jumping jacks. We did say checking on wellness, get that blood flow. So this is important to make sure that we are keeping our energy up, especially at a time like this, with there's so much going on and you're with your family most of the day that you may not be with them all day. So now this is 7 days a week. What is it? 24/7, literally right now. So when working remotely, you don't find yourself being able to engage with those in a C-suite or network throughout the office. Deidre, could you share how can opportunities be obtained by being remote? And how do we get connected and stay connected?
That is a key question. It's funny because from my experience, like I've connected with way more C-suite influencers and power network more than before. When I think the key thing is know that barriers are kind of social constructs. You think about people with a corner office or org charts. Those are all superficial things. And I say that because just because someone has an office doesn't mean you can't, knock on the door and make introductions. So online, it's kind of the same thing. I would say with that, shoot your shot for connecting. My process for that, because I'm a very process-oriented person, is figure out what your goals are. What's your goals? Is it to promote your career? Is it to grow your business? Is it just to network? Once you have your goal kind of identified, think about who is the person to add to your network to make it happen. Is that your boss? Is that your boss's boss? Is that prospects and clients? But who do you want to connect with to help make your goal happen? Then figure out where are they at? Where can you find these people? And there's virtual places to find them if you're not, at the office. There's LinkedIn. There's Twitter, those online messengers. I know some offices have them like Link or whatever, or Skype or Zoom. And I say that because you can find a lot of C-suite people, and probably might have more access to them online or on Twitter. Like there's so many people on Twitter right now who are like in charge of VC firms, of influence in different industries, and that I've been connecting with during this pandemic and before. Because they're online now, people are online more than ever. So I don't think it's more about having to be physically somewhere, but find where they're at. Next, pitch your opportunity. Okay, is that a one-on-one, informational interview that you can do via Zoom? Is that I want to lead a training or a webinar now that everyone's online about maybe my subject of expertise, or how to even use Zoom, or how to get through this, goal setting during the, working remotely? Or maybe it's a podcast like with this. I pitch this opportunity. I'm like, hey, I have some information to help people get through this transition and working remotely. would your podcast like the information and you guys received it because it would be great for your audience. But pitch the opportunity. And then next and lastly, trade value. You can't just add or network with someone without thinking, how can I help bring value to their life? So what is that? Is it trading strategies, best practices, referring business opportunities? But whenever you're trying to network, whether the C-suite, or the janitor, whoever it is, offer some value, and I'm sure that your network would grow tremendously.
These are some really, really good tips. So basically, Latesha, I think, even said it with her series on the weekends here, is turning those connections into conversations. So if we're not able to knock on that door, like you said, in the C-suite, possible looking at your org chart, LinkedIn, and making those connections, and really going a step further beyond what you normally would. Because it's kind of as if with us being remote that we kind of have to overcompensate, would you say, with our communications? Being that we're not in person?
I would say, if nothing else, lean more into it. Because what happens before is, one thing, when you're at an office, you kind of stumble upon people, right? Mm-hmm. And so it seems like an inconvenience, like, oh, I didn't mean to bother you, but can I borrow 3 minutes of your time, right? It seems like, dang, this person at my cube or at my office is annoying. But at this point, you can either opt into an email or opt out. And I say that because I can say, hey, Sheneisha, I want to talk to you for 30 minutes. Is that okay? You have the choice to say yes or no. But more than likely, you have the ownership saying, yes, I want to do this. So I think it actually forms better relationships because it gives you an out to not connect with me. So I think if nothing else, leverage this opportunity now where people are more open to communication and interested and have the time. So shoot your shot.
Right. Because they're, locked in just as much as we are right now. So I'm pretty sure they would be more than glad to have that email come across or that instant messenger pop up and have someone else to talk to. So these are good tips. So
I just think that hopefully, if nothing else, take some of these tips throughout when it's normal schedule, when you're back at the office. Because Absolutely. Like I said, I think to a certain aspect, some of these things are barriers are in our brain. They're not real barriers. It's how can I, no matter what, connect with people and also connect around the world. You do not have to be in an office to connect meaningfully with your coworker, with your CEO, or with anybody. Use your value, connect with people, and really be of service to people while they're going through some of the most challenging parts of their lives.
Definitely, because this time is different than what we normally would expect, or when things, like you said, a hurricane or a tornado, whatever, comes into place. It's a different time now, so having your headset or your headspace in the right place to be able to have those conversations and connect with people, it's different. But we're gonna make it work. According to Flex Jobs, 80% of remote job workers experience less job stress. So does working remote increase job satisfaction? If yes, how so? And if not, how can we improve this experience?
Yeah, so I don't know where you are located, but like I said, I live in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area, and we have a train service called BART. And I will say I used to have a commute on there over an hour, and now I don't. And I would say my life has tremendously improved just by not having that commute time. And I say that because it's an interesting experience between the people on it, the issues. So that's just one aspect that helps me out, saves me the money, saves me the stress. So imagine other ways it helps me out because it gives me more autonomy over what I'm doing, flexibility to be there. And as I mentioned to you, I have a son, and I'm a single mom, and it's been very helpful to me to be there at school events when I want to be there versus before, and then freedom because the way my job was set up, and now I'm an entrepreneur, so I set up my own job. But before, my company is as long as you get your work done, we don't care where you're at. So I used to go to a lot of conferences, events. I used to travel. I could literally work, at the pool or at the beach. So I love the fact that I have that freedom, autonomy, and productivity because, like I said before, I'm a very extroverted person, and which is great, but people will come to my cube all the time, and so I'm how do I stay productive because I want to socialize, but I also want to like do my job,
right?
You know, so I think for me, I'm more productive and I'm just happier because it's less of that stress, and I get to be there for events that matter to me, which happen to be with my family.
I really like that. Being able to work remote and kind of make your own schedule. I think that's, like you said, and taking off the commute is what really takes away the stress. Because if you look at it on average, right? So if you have your 9 to 5, really you're working almost the way I picture it in my head, and I could be wrong or crazy. You're working 12 to 14 hours because the time it takes you to wake up, get dressed, get on the road, battle through traffic, get to work your hours, get back in the car, drive back home. You're debriefing from work. It takes a lot. So if you're able to manage your own schedule and get your work done productively and be efficient in what you do, and still are able to just input or insert in certain areas that free time that you like, I think that's what really increases that job satisfaction, as you were saying.
Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, before that, I had a different job. I was working in insurance, and I remember one night I was in the office after midnight. Like, I didn't get home till like, I don't know, almost 2 a.m.
Stop it.
And I mean, and I say this because this is real talk. Like, you know, my commute's an hour. It's over, you know, the train's not even really working. I had to get like a Uber or a Lyft and whatever to get back home. And I'm saying, this is real talk. So it's like, I'm not saying it's necessarily a good thing to work that long, but I could at least do the job from home. It would have been a different experience versus like I have to really rely on, you know, my network of childcare, and I have that. I'm fortunate to have that, but not everyone does. So think about this. There's a certain barrier to your career if you don't have childcare, or even for your parents, you have to take care of your parents, and you have to. It's a barrier. You think about inclusion. It's like, how do we get more people in the workplace doing things they love, how they want to do it? Well, be flexible to your employees and they'll be loyal to you. And so even after this situation, I want companies to really consider why they don't allow remote work, because I know that job that I had did not allow it for it. And I'm like, you know what, if I would have been able to work remotely, I probably would have been more productive. And so it's all about how do we have more access to people to work, be productive, be happier. And I hope, if nothing else, the outcome from this event that's at least positive is that companies are more flexible in the way that they care for their employees and the way they let their employees work for their company.
And I really hope organizations can see that now from this experience, or after this is over, hopefully, seeing how working remote can be an awesome experience and opportunity for their employees, and allow employees to see how great this opportunity is and how much more productive they can be. Because it's almost as if being in the workplace is a little bit more distracting than it would be if you were home. Because in that instance, what if the kids are going to school? You're able to do a little bit more. In my opinion, every job should be remote. No?
Right.
No?
Like, at least the option. You know, we can come in as you need to. Well, it's interesting, though, too, because certain companies were doing that. So it was a trend that was happening where a lot of companies are doing that open concept thing and, like, eliminating offices because they realize real estate's expensive, especially in the Bay Area. So if we have less offices and people work remotely, we'll save X amount of $1 million a year. And so it was kind of happening more like from a money saving aspect, but I think now that from a people and just a business continuity aspect, they have to do that and should do it. So I think it's very important, and like I said, I hope people think about the bigger picture, and hopefully when they listen to this in the future, they're still getting value from it, from just exploring working remotely. But the thing about this is you've got to be able to work from anywhere, because that's a better way to serve customers and just to retain good employees.
Yes, and we definitely want organizations to retain good employees. So with everything going on right now with COVID-19, how do we manage COVID-19 induced stress working remotely? Because you're getting notifications, you're not able to leave your home. You know, we're having to take extra precautions, if not already, if you are able to leave your home, to go get things, water, toilet tissue, which I still don't understand what that is about. I'm in Georgia right now, so I still don't understand what that is about toilet tissue being taken. People aren't able to do People aren't able to do what they would normally like to do. And it's stressful. And so I'm calling it COVID-induced stress. How do we manage that? Working at home, because I'm on my laptop and I'm doing work, or I have my iPad and I'm working and there's constant notifications popping up, or you have, family or friends, whoever, sending you these text messages about COVID-19, and there's just so much going on. So it can be stressful. How do we manage that?
That is like $1 million question. But I will just say, prioritize your safety. Like, at the end of the day, I mean, we're not going to care about our careers if we aren't safe. If our loved one is sick, or we're sick, or just, you can't get more than toilet paper. That's important, but in the grand scheme of things, like, it's prioritize safety. Once you are in a safe place and everyone that you care about is safe, like I said, set boundaries. Like, no, hey, here's what I'm going to get done today. And, I'm going to do the best I can. So, as I mentioned to you, in between working, I'm homeschooling my son. And not only am I homeschooling my son, who's 7 years old, like, he goes to a Chinese immersion school, and I have to learn how to teach him Chinese, which I don't know how to speak Chinese. Wow. So I say that because I'm being very patient with myself. I'm like, hey, there's only so much I can do to get my work done, be there for my family, stay safe, engage, well, not only teach my son, but like enjoy being with him and have fun to keep a healthy environment for him, because kids are depending on adults to set the mold. I don't want my son panicking right now. If I panic and show that to him, it's going to have him panic, and it's not right. Mm-hmm. And so on top of that, it's like part of me having my boundaries is, like I said, I can't watch the news all the time now. Like, I have my check-in points. I'm like, okay, it's my time to check on the news, see what's happening, and then check back out, because I'm not going to be of service to anybody if I'm stressed out and not prioritizing my health. And from a public health and safety, we know that more stressed people have lower immune systems. So how am I going to protect myself during a pandemic if I'm doing things to sabotage my immune system? It doesn't make sense. And then lastly, be resourceful. If you can, rely on your coworkers' help cover some things. I know they're going through things. If you can, maybe try to figure out the trade activities or responsibilities. If you can, find resources, a lot of different resources online to help people transition through this hard time. Whether it's online services or just social services, but there are things. But prioritize your safety, have boundaries, and be resourceful. And hopefully, if nothing else, that will give you some kind of peace. But we all have to do the best we can do for our own personal lives.
That's good. Stay safe, guys. Stay safe and have those boundaries. Deidre, what is the key takeaway you'd like to share with our listeners today?
Yeah, the key takeaway is this is not a normal remote work experience. This is not. I'm telling you right now, I worked remotely for a while. I have never had this experience. The closest thing I've had was my son being on a summer break and having to figure out, how to watch him. But at least with that, there were summer programs, but this never really ever happened. So please don't let this turn you off to working remotely, or your employees too, because this is not the typical situation. But if nothing else, remember to grow, which is to focus on your goals, routine, outreach with other people, and your wellness, because if you do that, you will be fine.
Thank you. And thank you for highlighting that this is not normal as far as working remote, and please do not be turned off. It's an exceptional experience. It's none like any other. And you heard the stats, 80% of people who work jobs remote are satisfied with their work. And you've done it for 2 years and have had awesome experiences. So do not be turned off. This is not normal. It's not. It gets better. It gets better, guys. They just stick with us, hang in there, hold on. It gets better. Is there anything else you'd like to share about working remote or strategic stories?
Yeah, and so I would say this, like I always like to be of service to people. And so for some of you guys who want more customized, tips on how to work from home and transition right now, I'm offering pro bono 20-minute strategy calls. If you want to talk about, hey, here are some issues I'm having with working remotely. How can I maintain my career goals while working remotely and trying to transition? All you have to do is go to deidrewright.com/remote work, and I'm happy to, guide you on that. It's, like I said, pro bono, but it's more for keeping you guys happy, healthy, and keeping our workforce, especially minority workforce, thriving in this challenging time. So I'm happy to do that for you guys.
Please, please, please check out her website and follow you on LinkedIn, correct?
Yeah, you can find me at Deidre Wright. That is DeidreWright. And then you can find me on Twitter as well as Instagram at Deidre Wright. And it's right like you're writing a book. So DeidreWrite.
Okay, perfect. Any shout outs?
Yeah, I have to shout out to all the companies who've been providing working from remote as a lifestyle or as a business policy prior to this, because you guys are actually ahead of the game, and it's 2020, and why weren't people working remotely beforehand? And then I have to shout out all the healthcare workers, public health professionals, risk management professionals who are doing everything right now on the front lines to protect people and businesses so they can thrive and be okay during this period. Without you guys, your expertise, whether you're actually in the field or using your advice from afar to help people, I really appreciate you and keep on doing great work to help us during this hard time.
That is good. Thank you, guys. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you, Deidre, for joining us today. And guys, it's gonna be okay. This too shall pass. We're gonna make it through. And that's our show. Thank you for joining us on the Living Corporate Podcast. Be sure to follow Deidre on her LinkedIn, as well as check out her website. Also, follow us on Instagram at Living Corporate, Twitter at livingcorp_pod, and subscribe to our newsletter through www.living-corporate.com. If you have any questions you'd like to share, answer, or read on the podcast, make sure that you email us at livingcorporatepodcast@gmail.com. This has been Sheneisha and Deidre. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
We appreciate 1,000 times over for sharing tips about working remote, and thank you again for highlighting this is not normal. Do not turn away. Do not shy away from this. Working remote is a wonderful experience. Deidre, thank you for returning to us again and sharing great tips. It's always a pleasure having you. Living Corporate, this is Sheneisha. Deidre, peace.
What's up, everyone? So I'm here today to talk about all things hiring related to coronavirus. I know many of you may be still on the job hunt. You may be applying. Many of you are likely interviewing. And so as a career coach, I wanted to just give some updates as to what I found through my research about how coronavirus will impact hiring trends over the next couple of months. I want you all to know that your questions, your fears, all of your worries are definitely validated because we are seeing that this is starting to negatively impact the economy. And honestly, it may only get worse from here. Now, in terms of how bad will it hit you, I will just want to let you guys know that this is still very, very early on here in the U.S. We have a few cases here in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I am, depending on what area you are. If coronavirus has more cases and those cases continue to go up and up, that is going to impact your job search really, really heavily and very, very quickly. So I just want to share the research that I've done. I did not pull this information just out of nowhere. My research was through Forbes, USA Today, Washington Post, Wall Street, LinkedIn. CDC doesn't really have a lot of information for job seekers. So let me just say that things are probably going to get worse. And so we really just have to take this day by day and week by week. The U.S. has been on the up and up with recruiting and hiring over the past few months. We've been doing really, really well in terms of the employment side. However, due to coronavirus, this is starting to really hit us hard. Understand that there is a really vicious cycle going on here. And so as consumer spending goes down, that is going to affect those businesses and companies first. Right, and then that will start to affect the economy. That can lead to hiring freezes, that could lead to layoffs, that could lead to delays in hiring. So everything really has an effect. What industries are getting hit worse right now? Any industry in the transportation world. So like any industry that could be directly responsible for spreading coronavirus. So we're talking airlines, cruise ships, trains, travel companies, event companies, definitely going to get hit. Restaurants. In my research, I saw that there was a restaurant that was closed down in Seattle because there are so many cases out there. Hotels as well, not doing so hot right now. As we are, probably going to be told to like stay in. People have already been encouraging social distancing. You'll see how that will affect your local shops, your restaurants, your bars, coffee shops. Even the CEOs of the airline companies, they are not taking their own income right now or reducing their income. So just know that it is starting to hit us. Booming industries, healthcare and science roles related to coronavirus. People or hospitals need nurses that can help test for coronavirus, but we are seeing an increase right now in government, biotech, nonprofit, technology, those remote tech companies. Zoom is booming right now. Companies are going to start to depend on working virtually. Any company, hopefully, this is a hope right here, any company that does provide those resources to business, you'll probably see, more hiring there, or at least there's not a slow down. All right. So again, like I said, this will get worse. How will this affect you that's hiring out there? And should you keep searching? The answer is yes, keep searching. This is going to delay hiring. This is going to delay interviewing for those companies that are not accustomed to doing things virtually, okay? So as you start to see more companies going to remote and virtual work, their leaders, their hiring managers are having to really get used to that. And so they may not be accustomed to doing the hiring and interviewing virtual, but what I imagine, and again, now this is my opinion, all companies are going to move to virtual, more higher view interviews, more video interviews, more Google Hangouts, Skype, things of that nature. But I do want you all to know there may be some delay on hiring. Now, companies, before they even start to do layoffs, they will likely put out hiring freezes. So I think we may start to see more hiring freezes first before we see any layoffs. That is all I have, but I want you to know to not give up because so many people are going to stop completely applying. This is your time. If you are job seeking, to apply. Update your resume. You're working from home now. You don't have to sneak around and look for jobs while you're at work. Chilling on the clock at home, keep looking for jobs. Boost your LinkedIn. We are going to see a shift from networking in person to networking online. Boost your LinkedIn, okay? So don't give up, don't stop. Do I think companies are still cutting the check? I do think so, but I will say it is very, very early to know.
Living Corporate is a podcast by Living Corporate LLC. Our logo was designed by David Dawkins. Our theme music was produced by Ken Brown. Additional music production by Antoine Franklin for Musical Elevation. Post-production is handled by Jeremy Jackson. Got a topic suggestion? Email us at livingcorporatepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us online on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and living-corporate.com. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned.